As explained in the first retrospective, On Unearthly Child didn't exactly do brilliant in terms of the ratings, but they were decent. The story saw the Doctor and his companions go back in time to the Stone Age, where they were held captive by savage cavemen. Of course, by the end of the story, they escape. However, An Unearthly Child didn't go well with folks at the BBC. Sidney Newman wasn't impressed either. The second story would be set on a barren planet in the future and would see the Doctor encounter two alien races, the Thals, and most famously, the Daleks. Arguably, the introduction of these alien tank-like creatures would cement Doctor Who's popularity with the viewers. But at first, Newman didn't like the idea of the show having bog-eyed monsters. The Daleks were an instant hit, and the second serial, now known as the Daleks, saw the Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Susan, and friendlier aliens, the Thals, battling the evil Daleks for the next 7 weeks. Terry Nation penned the script after he became inspired by his childhood fears of the Nazis during the Second World War. It also seems like the Cold War inspired Nation's ideas for this story, as the Daleks cannot exit their city, which is on Skaro. Elements of nuclear war are also mentioned in this story. The Thals live in the jungle-like areas with alien-like trees, showing a huge contrast to the Thals and the Daleks, as where the Daleks are is all metallic. One of the scariest things about the Daleks, which has been depicted through the years, is the fact that underneath that shell there is a pathetic little mutant creature now known by fan circles as the Khaled mutants, with the word Khaled being an anagram of the word Dalek. In addition, the first Dalek story didn't actually include the Daleks' famous catchphrase, exterminate, but they do say things like fire and things like that, and I think they say exterminated as well. But in later stories, they start saying it. Children all over the country were gripped to television screens on 5 p.m. every Saturday evening, not just because of the Doctor's fantastic adventures through time and space, but also to see Daleks try and defeat the Doctor again and again and again. But of course, we all know it was the other way round. After the end of the first season, it was inevitable that the Daleks would return, and they did so in the 10th story, The Dalek Invasion of Earth. As the title suggests, the Daleks invade Earth in the future, and Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Susan must stop them yet again. In this story, they are no longer limited to being inside corridors, and now they can go anywhere thanks to dishes on the back of their shells. They're also a little bit taller than their predecessors, making them seem a little bit more invincible. It is also in this story when Susan falls in love with a member of the Dalek resistance, David. At the end of the story, the Doctor leaves Susan behind after giving one of the most inspirational speeches in Doctor Who's history. Later in the second season, the Daleks return once again in the chase. In this story, they have slats on the back, and they would have the slats on the back of their necks for the rest of the show's history, up to present day. In this story, They now possess the ability to travel through time, just like the TARDIS. And likewise to Susan in the Dalek Invasion of Earth, Ian and Barbara leave to go back to the 1960s at the end of this story. This makes a tradition that every time the Daleks appear in Doctor Who, companions tend to also depart from the TARDIS crew. The Daleks were very influential to Doctor Who, and now they were even appearing on the big screen in colour films based on the first two Dalek TV stories. As the 1960s progressed, they even appeared in 4 more stories, which are mostly lost. They are Mission to the Unknown, which never even saw the Doctor appear, and as of 2013, it is the only story not to feature the Doctor at all. The Daleks' Master Plan followed not long after Mission to the Unknown, and this lasted for 12 episodes, making it the second longest story after The Trial of a Time Lord starring Colin Baker. After William Hartnell left, Patrick Troughton took over the role as the Doctor, and in his first story, The Power of the Daleks, he fought the Daleks once again. Season 4's finale was the Daleks' supposed last appearance in Doctor Who, so it seemed, and at the end of the story, the Doctor proclaims that it is the final end, as all the Daleks are destroyed. Now, that is a story I'm sure everyone would love to see. Alas, it was not the Daleks' last appearance, as Barry Letts and Terence Dicks brought them back for the Season 9 opener, Day of the Daleks, in 1972. The Daleks recently appeared in the Day of the Doctor to mark 50 years. It was fitting that they'd appear, as the Daleks were the first ever villains in Doctor Who, and even after 50 years, they are still the most popular, making the children wanting to dress up in them and buying endless variations of their on-screen depictions in figure form. In another 50 years, who knows, the Daleks may still be on our screens, terrifying millions of TV viewers. But before I end this retrospective, it is important to remember that Terry Nation was the man who brought these creatures to life, and thanks to him, the Daleks created something special, and that something was called Dalekmania. Everywhere you went, you would see Daleks on places like Blackpool. There was rides you could go on, and you could hear children impersonating their cry of exterminate. Without Dalekmania, we may not have Doctor Who as it is today. Thank you very much, Terry Nation, for creating one of the most iconic sci-fi villains in history.
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek and hug him underneath the mistletoe. And if he's very nice, I'll feed him sugar spice and hang a Christmas stocking from his big left toe. And when we both get up on Christmas morning, I'll kiss him on his chromium-plated head and take him in to say hi to Mom and frighten Daddy out of his bed. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Merry
To
Christmas!
you!